So for those of you who have been following the work of the Northside ACH, we're going to start with this moment in 2017. But there are several of you in the room who are part of the foundational work of the ACH that probably started in like 2014. So there was work that happened kind of like where Nicole is and coming to this moment. And really what changed us from thinking about health broadly, thinking about how do we impact communities, was the launch of this Medicaid waiver and the Medicaid transformation project. And when that happened, we did a pivot. And the pivot went from how do we think about 10, 20 years out, what do we need to focus on, to we've got a 5-year waiver, how do we get partners to do this work in this 5-year waiver, and we've got like this money coming in, and just like it narrowed the focus. And really for our team, for the board, and we've got a couple of board members in the room, we've been trying to get back to that broader focus. That the Medicaid Transformation Project was something we took on, it is not who we are. And I think that this journey that we've asked you all to kind of be on together with us is really part of that. So I'm going to ask Nicole to describe this meeting that, again, I'm thinking some of you were at, because I think of like Linda Crothers, there were like people in the room when we did this speed dating exercise, because we had this decision to make that all 9 ACHs had to make, and it was, are you going to do 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 Medicaid transformation projects? And we ended up being the only ACH that decided to do 8, but here is why. Is that a good segue?
Thank you. So many of you, as Liz was saying, have helped us along the way. You have contributed to what the kind of, as we've described, like a portfolio. And the event that we did in fall of 2017, some of you are familiar with Appreciative Inquiry, which is trying to look at like an asset, the assets of what's going on in communities. And while I was calling it Appreciative Inquiry, it quickly became speed dating within like 10 minutes. So we just kind of rolled with it. And how it was structured is we had almost like 8 work groups of these 8 kind of, I would say, silo bucketed project areas that we were working with. Because we were kind of thinking about, oh, should we do all 8 areas, it quickly became clear after we started planning with this activity that yes, but how are we going to do that? So what the speed dating did was take work group members, bring them all in the same group, and then like switch them up a lot. And we structured the meeting by asking this question. So it's 2020, which is hard to believe it is 2020. What's different? What has changed? Different for whom? We're still at that time trying to think about like target populations. What was that going to look like? What's the next to do on the list? Who has contributed to this future state? So in this mixing speed dating style, we were able to come up with, really, if we were going to impact any of those measures, all the population, individuals aren't siloed in one condition or the other condition. There's usually multiple things going on. And if you want to help these multiple conditions, then you apply multiple strategies. And so within the work groups, the speed dating happened. And what emerged was really what we call our 4 initiative areas. So we have a capacity building, which I would say really bubbled up. That's not really a required area, but it's that what does it take to do the work that often we forget about, and that this group really helped us think about, okay, capacity building. What do we want to learn about equity? What about tribal sovereignty? What about those who are doing health information technology and exchange, community information exchange? What about population health management? What about the current systems we're using? So the group really helped figure out, like, we cannot forget about capacity building. So that was one initiative. And then care coordination. Those who were part of care coordination work groups remember that no matter how many times we said care coordination, diversion, transition, other groups would just slowly kind of form together, which I think was an observation that work really does belong together. So care coordination, and then we have care transformation, which is really looking at bringing clinical community-based organizations together. And then care integration, so looking at the behavioral health and physical health and vice versa, and integrating those. So the the 4 initiatives emerged from there. And I think from that moment forward, the connections and the collaboration started. I think individual organizations started seeing how they could connect, whether it was just one-off conversations and just different meetings, whether it was a reproductive health advocate connecting with a clinic, or vice versa. The momentum started because this group of individuals started thinking about the future in a way that wasn't a deficit focus. It was more of a positive asset focus. So that was our activity. And then Liz is going to share where we've been over the past year.
So that was fall of 2017. What I'm going to put kind of in this little spot right here is that between that meeting and the fall of 2018, we had to write 2 pretty massive documents. We had to write a project plan, and then we had to write an implementation plan. And we had to do those documents without having contracts with any of you. So, we decided somewhere in, again, I'm going to say it was August, but, I think even Dean was on like my back patio, and it was, mid-July, and we said, wow, it'd be really cool if we could just get all the partners together for a couple of days to help us think about how do we do this project plan. And about 3 weeks later, about 110 of you came together at Everett Community College, I believe is where we were, for 2 days to talk about how do we create a project plan that actually we feel like we could carry out. We didn't have an agenda. So, Monty, for all the work we've done in pulling this agenda together, we didn't have an agenda for day 1 or day 2. We did the agenda for day 2 at the end of day 1. But you all were still there. You were there with us. So when we put that project plan together, we felt like we were using things that you shared with us to say, here's what we thought partners across the North-Sound region could take on. The 5-year Medicaid transformation project started in January 2017. But January of 2019 was day 1 of implementation. So we had 2 years of planning towards implementation. And so 2019, you all did the first year of implementation. You're just starting year 2 of implementation. But here's what we're being asked to describe. How do we scale and sustain the work? And we're going, wow, we only had like 1 year of implementation. So you're doing reporting to our team, you're filling out surveys, you're doing things in SurveyMonkey, you're doing things in whatever else Nicole puts together and asks of you. And we're now trying to figure out like what happens next. We've had 3.5 years of what's going to happen at the end of the Medicaid transformation project. But really it's about where do you all want to go next? And I think what is kind of been laid out here is, help us create that path of what do we need to do in 2020 to get us ready for 21, to get us ready for 22. And we can't do, like our team cannot do that unless we're in like a dream state and going, what would be like the coolest thing that we could do? But we're not doing it. You're doing it. And so at the same time, kind of parallel to this, our board of directors has asked for a business plan because they're also really conscious of the fact that this Medicaid transformation project is going to come to an end. So what is the North-Sound ACH and what's its function beyond the Medicaid transformation project? So we're starting to map out, like, what could we take on? What could we do collectively? And that collectively could be everybody in the room, or it might be everybody here who decides they're going to work on something together. But we're trying to move away from groups of ones to groups of more than one. And that's really one of the opportunities that we have as we look forward. And, I hope that you all have had chances to be in some of these sub-convenings that have been going on. So I know like the oral health providers come together. We had our first meeting for care coordination partners. We've got some meetings that are coming up the next year, things that you asked us to convene back in August. And we're trying to figure out what can we do to support you in the work that you see moving forward. And every time we come together, we hear about some new set of partnerships that has occurred that we didn't know about beforehand. And kind of embedded underneath all of that is still this tribal and equity focus that we're asking everybody to take on. And so we've been really strengthened by our partnership with Children of the Setting Sun Productions. They're helping us immensely We've just got Tempest, where are you in the room? Tempest Dawson has just joined us. She's been on board. We were going to put her on our panel today, but since she's only like on day 4 or something, thought that might be a bit much. Our new tribal liaison who has joined us. We're really excited about that and just the work that we have looking forward with all 8 of the tribes in the region. We have some partnerships with the Coalition of Communities of Color, and I think I saw Ben and Jackie here, trying to figure out like how can we create something ongoing that continues to build some of that capacity around that work. So again, not trying to create it inside our doors, but trying to create it in a community-based organization that exists that we feel like we can work with. So I hope, Monty, that's like a good jumping off point for where you go next. Because, again, I've still got like 240 pages I can talk about.